1 week after the beginning of Year 2, Aurora Reach found herself hanging upside down from a magnetic rail, staring at a sponsor flag 3 meters below her. Somewhere nearby, Plum was laughing. Aurora could hear it through the arena walls. That made everything worse. The challenge was called Flag Fall Sprint, a hands-free sponsor event designed purely for entertainment. No weapons, no lethal contact, no kills, just speed, agility, humiliation, and one extremely smug announcer explaining every failure to the galaxy in real time. Aurora hated it, which meant the crowd loved it. She twisted her hips, hooked one knee tighter around the magnetic rail, and swung her body toward the next platform. Her hands remained strapped behind her back by the challenge rules. The announcer's voice boomed above the course. Aurora Reach is approaching the final banner. Remember, contestants must retrieve the flag without use of their hands. This is a non-lethal entertainment challenge sponsored by Velric Motion Systems, where dignity goes to die in public. The crowd roared with laughter. Aurora gritted her teeth. "I'm going to sue them." From the sidelines, Ellie shouted, "Focus!" Plum shouted, "Use your teeth!" Mira shouted, "Actually, she's right. Teeth are allowed." Pines, who sounded far too pleased, added, "I'd recommend not looking ridiculous." Aurora swung harder. "I am upside down with my hands tied behind my back." "Then you've already failed that part," Pines called. The spectators erupted again. Aurora muttered several things that would have gotten muted on most family broadcasts. Below her, the sponsor flag hung from a short pole at the end of a narrow beam. The rules were simple. Cross the rails, avoid the air blasts, reach the beam, grab the flag, drop into the finish zone before the timer expired. Simple, stupid, public. The kind of challenge sponsors loved because nobody important had to die, but everyone could still look like an idiot. Aurora swung once, twice. On the third swing, she released her leg. For half a second, she fell upside down through open air. The crowd inhaled. Aurora twisted, caught the beam with her knees, folded upward, and snapped her teeth around the flag. The timer hit 10 seconds. Her jaw clenched around the fabric as she swung herself off the beam and dropped toward the finish zone. She landed badly, rolled worse, somehow ended on her back with the flag still in her mouth. The arena horn sounded. Challenge complete. Aurora spat the flag into the air. "Never again." The crowd went wild. Sparkle Doom rushed the finish zone like she'd just conquered a planet instead of survived corporate parkour. Plum got there first. That was beautiful. Aurora sat up, hair wild and dignity dead. That was not beautiful. It was like watching a very angry bat. Ellie crouched beside her. "You won." "I was bitten by a sponsorship drone." Mira looked horrified. "Wait, actually?" Aurora pointed at her shoulder. "Tiny bite, emotional damage." Pines arrived last, arms folded. "Well done." Aurora narrowed her eyes. "That's it?" He nodded. "You completed the objective, adapted under pressure, maintained speed, and only looked ridiculous for 90% of it." "Uncle Wuxi, I swear," Pines smiled. "Threatening your mentor after a non-lethal challenge is poor form." Plum gasped. "She called you Uncle Wuxi." "I heard." We all heard. Pines sighed like a man with a great burden. Aurora stood brushing dust from her clothes, trying not to smile. The challenge reward was minor. Some faction funding, a sponsor bonus, a shipment of mobility gear Mira would probably turn into something much more useful than intended. No kills, no trauma, no blood. For once, an Eclipse event had ended with laughter. That made what happened next feel strangely gentle. Kale Solvaris appeared near the exit tunnel. He wasn't wearing arena armor, just a white field coat, dark undersuit, and the faint smile that had become increasingly dangerous to Aurora's ability to think. Plum saw him first. Of course she did. "Oh, would you look at that?" Aurora immediately stiffened. Ellie followed Plum's gaze and smirked. Mira looked between Aurora and Kale, then very obviously pretended not to notice. Pines did not even bother pretending. Kale approached with hands loosely behind his back. "Congratulations." Aurora brushed more dust from herself. "Do not mention the hanging upside down." "I would never." "You absolutely would. Only privately." Plum made a wounded noise. "Privately? Wow, rude." Aurora turned. "Do not." Kale laughed softly, then looked back at Aurora. "Would you take a walk with me?" The words were simple. No grand performance, no dramatic bow. Still, Aurora felt the weight of them. They had kissed. They had flirted. They had spoken through wrist comms late into nights when neither of them admitted they should be sleeping. He had helped her in challenges. She had watched him win, bleed, retreat, and return. They had circled each other for a year now, sometimes as allies, sometimes as almost more. A walk sounded small. It was not. Aurora glanced at her faction. Ellie was pretending not to grin. Plum was openly grinning. Mira looked warm and nervous on her behalf. Pine simply nodded once. Aurora turned back to Kale. Yeah. His smile softened. Good. They left the arena together. Behind them, Plum whispered loudly, "Don't do anything I wouldn't do." Ellie said, "That gives her too much room." Mira made a tiny squeak of laughter. Aurora did not turn around. If she did, she'd throw something. Kale led her through a quieter part of the sponsor district, away from the main walkways and broadcast towers. Nero Vega glittered around them, bright and hungry as ever, but this path curved beneath hanging gardens and old stone arches wrapped in blue flowering vines. For a while, neither spoke. That was the surprising part. It wasn't awkward, just full. Aurora walked beside him, aware of the space between their hands, aware of how close he was, aware that nothing about the eclipse made moments like this easy. Eventually, Kale broke the silence. "You looked very graceful today," Aurora groaned. "There it is." "I said graceful. You meant bat." "I would never insult bats." She elbowed him lightly. He laughed. Then the laughter faded into something quieter. Kale looked ahead. "I've been thinking." Aurora glanced at him. "That sounds dangerous." "It might be." The path opened onto a balcony overlooking a lower canal system. Small boats moved beneath them, carrying spectators, sponsor delegates, and contestants who looked far too relaxed for people living inside a death tournament. Kale rested his hands on the railing. Aurora stood beside him. He took a breath. "I like you." Aurora looked at him, caught off guard by how plainly he said it. Not charming, not teasing, not dressed up, just truth. Her face softened. "I like you too." "I know." She raised an eyebrow. His smile returned briefly. "I hoped." Aurora looked out over the canal. Kale continued. "I don't want this to become something shaped entirely by the games. By cameras, by rankings, by people betting on whether one of us will betray the other." Aurora's chest tightened. "Neither do I. I also don't want to rush it." She looked at him. He met her gaze. "We've known each other nearly a year. In Eclipse time, that feels like a lifetime. Outside of here, it's still not long." Aurora smiled faintly. "Very romantic." "It was meant to be honest." "It was." The silence between them shifted. Closer now, more careful. Kale looked down at the canal. "I'd like us to be real." Aurora's heart did something irritating. "But slow," he added. "With boundaries." "With boundaries," he agreed. She nodded. "I can do slow." He gave her a look. She sighed. "I can attempt slow. That's probably more accurate." She smiled. Then Kale turned fully toward her. "I also want to join Sparkle Doom." The world stopped moving. Aurora looked at him. The canal noise faded. The city faded. Everything narrowed into that one sentence. "What?" Kale did not flinch. "I want to join your faction." Aurora stared. For a second, the younger part of her, the part that had kissed him outside the tower and flown above Nero Vega in his arms, wanted to say yes instantly. Yes, of course, join us, be with us, be safe with us, fight beside me, come home with me. Then the rest of her caught up. The leader, the contestant, the daughter of Kenny Reach, the friend of Ellie, Plum, and Mira, the person responsible for more than her own heart. Aurora looked away. "Kale." He watched her carefully. She hated that he already seemed to understand from her tone. "I can't." The words landed between them like a blade. Kale's expression changed. Not anger, not exactly hurt. Surprise, a little pride wounded beneath it. "You can't." Aurora shook her head. "No." For a moment, he said nothing. Then quietly, "Why?" Aurora gripped the railing. "Because of the faction clause." Kale stilled. Aurora continued before she lost courage. "If Sparkle Doom becomes the final faction alive, the person with the highest kill count becomes faction champion if everyone else surrenders their rights. I know the clause. You're second on the board." He looked away. Aurora's voice tightened. If you join us now and we make it to the end, then either we surrender both planets and the entire prize to you. She swallowed. Or we fight. Cale said nothing. And it's not just my dream I'd be gambling. Aurora looked at him again. It's Ellie's, Plum's, Mira's. Pines came back into this hell to protect us. I can't risk all of that because I care about you. The final words came out softer than the rest, because they were the truest. Cale's face shifted. The hurt remained. But something else entered. Respect, sadness, understanding. He looked down at his hands. I thought you trusted me. Aurora winced. That one hurt. I do. His jaw tightened slightly. Not enough. Aurora shook her head. This isn't about trust, isn't it? No, she said, firmer now. It's about responsibility. Cale looked back at her. She forced herself to keep going. We've known each other for a year inside a place designed to make people desperate. I trust who you've shown me, but I don't know who you'll be in 3 more years. I don't know who I'll be. I don't know what the Eclipse will do to us. Her voice lowered. And if the ending comes down to you and my friends, I need to know I didn't put them in that position just because I wanted you close. Cale's face softened. That was the problem with him. He listened. Really listened. It made arguing harder. After a long moment, he nodded. That's fair. Aurora blinked. It is? It hurts. She looked down. But it's fair, he said. The honesty almost made it worse. Cale leaned against the railing, quiet for a while. Then he laughed once. Not happily, not bitterly, just tired. I suppose I didn't think that far ahead. Aurora smiled sadly. I didn't either. Pines made us. Of course he did. Annoying, isn't he? Very. That earned a small laugh from both of them. Then Cale looked at the city below. What if I stop? Aurora frowned. Stop what? Chasing kills. She stared. He continued. Darius is ahead now, by a lot. I don't need to keep matching him kill for kill. If I fight only when necessary, if I avoid contracts, if I stop climbing. Aurora understood. Her chest tightened. Cale. He looked at her. Then maybe by the end your numbers are higher. Yours, Ellie's, Plum's, whoever. And if I join later when the risk is different. He did not finish. He did not need to. Aurora stared at him. You'd weaken your own chance of winning. I'd change my chance of winning. No, she said. You'd weaken it. Cale did not deny it. Aurora stepped back slightly. Why would you do that? He smiled sadly. Because winning alone doesn't sound as good as it used to. The words hit her harder than expected. Aurora looked away before he saw too much on her face. She thought of her father, of Kenny telling her not to chase the scoreboard. The board only remembers who died. History remembers who lived. Was this what he meant? Not exactly, but close. Cale's voice softened. I'm not asking for an answer today. Aurora looked back. Good, because I don't have one. I know. I can't promise anything. I know. I might still say no. I know. She laughed despite herself. You're being annoyingly reasonable. I save my unreasonable moments for challenge arenas. Good policy. The silence returned, but it no longer felt sharp. Just sad. Aurora reached for his hand. After a moment, he took it, their fingers linked. No cameras nearby, no faction watching, no scoreboard hovering above them. Just 2 contestants standing in a city that wanted to turn every feeling into weakness. Aurora looked at him. So where does that leave us? Cale's thumb brushed gently over her knuckles. I was hoping you'd tell me. She smiled faintly. Coward. Strategist. Same thing in nicer clothes. He laughed. Aurora took a breath. I don't want to end this. Neither do I. But I can't let you join Sparkle Doom. Not now. I understand. And if we do this, she gestured between them, we keep it private. Cale raised an eyebrow. Private from the galaxy or private from Plum? Aurora groaned. Nothing is private from Plum. Good point. She smiled. Private from everyone else. Cale nodded. Agreed. And slow. With boundaries. With boundaries, she repeated. He studied her for a moment, then asked, Can I kiss you within those boundaries? Aurora pretended to think. For diplomatic clarity? Of course. Then yes. He leaned in. The kiss was softer than the first, less sudden, more chosen. That made it more dangerous. Aurora knew there were still problems waiting for them. The faction clause, the scoreboard, Darius, the remaining contestants. The fact that the Eclipse did not care who loved whom, only who survived. But for one breath, she let herself have this. When they parted, Cale rested his forehead lightly against hers. I'll slow down. Aurora closed her eyes. Don't die trying. I'll do my best. That's not reassuring. It's honest. She opened her eyes and smiled. I hate that I like that about you. I like that you hate it. They stayed there a while longer. Eventually, Aurora had to return to Sparkle Doom. Cale walked her back as far as the edge of the district. Not all the way. That felt like a boundary too. At the final turn, he stopped. I'll contact you later. Aurora nodded. Good, he smiled. Good. Then they separated. Aurora walked back alone through Nero Vega, heart heavier and lighter at the same time. That annoyed her too. When she returned to the Reaper headquarters, Plum was waiting in the lounge with a bowl of something crunchy and the expression of someone who had been born to ruin peace. Ellie sat beside her pretending to read. Mira was at her workstation pretending not to listen. Pines looked asleep. Aurora did not believe him for a second. Plum smiled. So? Aurora pointed immediately. No. How was your walk? No. Did you discuss faction politics? Aurora stopped. Actually stopped. Plum blinked. Ellie looked up. Mira turned. Pines opened one eye. The room shifted. Aurora sighed. He asked to join Sparkle Doom. The joking vanished. Ellie sat forward. Plum lowered the bowl. Mira's expression sharpened. Pines opened both eyes. And? Ellie asked. Aurora looked at her friends, her faction, her family. I said no. Nobody spoke, then Pines nodded once. Good. Not proud exactly, but approving. Aurora hated that she needed it. Plum's face softened. That must have sucked. Aurora laughed weakly. Yeah. Ellie stood and crossed the room. You did the right thing. Mira nodded. The clause makes him too risky right now. Aurora swallowed. I know. But knowing did not make it hurt less. Plum came over next and hugged her without warning. Aurora stiffened, then relaxed. Ellie joined. Mira too. After a moment, Pine sighed dramatically and wrapped one arm around the whole group from behind. Look at this. Emotional strategy meeting. Aurora laughed into Plum's shoulder. Plum mumbled, Shut up, Uncle Whooshy. Never. They stayed that way longer than any of them admitted. Later, when the others had drifted back into routine, Aurora stood alone near the window overlooking Nero Vega. The city burned bright beneath her. Somewhere out there, Cale Solvaris was walking his own path. Not in her faction, not against her. Something in between. Something fragile. Something dangerous. Aurora pressed her fingers lightly against the glass. She had wanted her own shadow. Now she was beginning to understand what that meant. Not freedom from hard choices, the strength to make them. The eclipse stretched ahead. 3 years remained. And for the first time, Aurora realized winning might not be the hardest part. It might be choosing what she was willing to lose along the way.